Welcome to the Kid Builders Workshop. I'm Carl Nattenstead, founder and CEO of Kid Builders, and today we're going to make an old school Slim Jim coaster. Okay, step one, we're going to assemble the main body and the rear axle area along with the seat. We're going to need 7 pieces for that. We need the rear axle assembly. We need the long 4-foot long main body of the Slim Jim. We need the 2 seat struts that support the seat. We need the 24-inch long piece of plywood for the seat. We need a handful of long screws and a handful of short screws. For step 1, we'll use these tools: a tape measure, a pen or pencil, our drill, our square bit, and also our star bit. All right, the first thing we're going to do on step 1 is mark the center of our back axle. So we want to first turn it down with the axle toward the bottom, take our tape measure along the back, and put a mark on the back at 12 inches. That should be the exact center of the 24-inch piece of wood. Then, take our axle, put it underneath the main body of the Slim Jim, and line up the back so that the center of the main body is matched up with our center of the back axle. Also, we want to make sure the back axle and the main body are square. So come to the back, make sure that the back line is on the same plane as the back axle would. Nice and square. Next, we're going to go ahead and put in 5 screws to screw the main body down to the back axle. So again, make sure it's square. Take your screwdriver, start with a screw somewhat near the center, a little off center from the axle. And screw that down. Then put a simple square pattern around the outside of that middle screw. Again, this is a good assignment for the students with a little support from their instructor to put in these screws. Putting in all 5 screws, will give the main body a nice solid connection to the rear axle. Okay, now we have the main body attached to the rear axle assembly. And you'll note that it's nice and square. Nice and square at a 90-degree angle. Next, we're going to put the seat support struts on the side. You'll notice that the struts have a nice angle on them on one end. So the way we want to attach these is we want to put the square end out near the edge of the axle, and the angled end up farther on the main body, squarely into the side of the main body. We take one of our long screws, we come from the side. You'll notice I have an extra 2x4 under the middle to square it all up, and we screw it in. just like that. We take one for the other side, we match it up so that it's at roughly the same area. We come from the other side. Again, we want to come straight in. So our screw is all the way in. Then we'll take 2 screws. We'll put one in the back of each section, straight through into the axle area, the axle cross member. One on each side. Now we have a completed triangle. Next, we're going to put the seat on the back. Now, we want to measure the seat and square it up so that it's square along the back of the cart and square to the sides, centered over the sides. So it should fit about the width of the back and should be nice and square along the back. We can do this visually with our eyes, just eyeball it. Then we want to take our drill. We want to switch to our star bit. Put in our star bit. And we're going to put a series of the short screws into the top and through the seat into the various sections of the car body. So we'll start with one right here in the front. Down nice and flat. Again, this is a great opportunity for the kids to learn how to use a drill. Make sure the back is nice and square. Put another one about the middle. Another one in the back. Then what we would like to do is put a few along the angular support beams. So we'll just find that, kind of eyeball it. Find the spot in the back and eyeball it. Two on each side. And as you can see, we're just giving enough power to these to countersink them in so they're nice and flush. That way when the kids sit on them, they won't be sticking up. Okay, now we've completed the back assembly and the seat. You can see how it's all nicely screwed together, nice and solid, giving a lot of rigidity and stability to the rear axle area of our coaster. Let's finish up and move on to step 2. For step 2, we're going to need 4 pieces. The main body assembly that we built in step 1, the front axle. The way you can differentiate the front axle from the rear axle is the front axle has a hole in it all the way through. We'll also need 2 eye bolts, and we'll need our main axle bolt assembly. Couple washers and a 4-inch bolt with a couple of nuts. So the first thing we'll do in step 2 is put the eye bolts into the front axle. We're going to want the front axle with the hole toward the front side. Take our eye bolts, we'll screw them into the pre-drilled holes on the sides, using a screwdriver to aid us in getting them nice and tight down into the body of the axle assembly. One on each side. Again, using the screwdriver for a little bit of leverage, we can wind it down nice and tight. Now later, we'll put the steering rope on, but for now, we'll leave the steering rope out of our way. The next step is to attach the front axle assembly to the main body. So we use our long bolt washer and nut assembly. Take off the nuts, set of washers, and the big washer, and we leave the nut with one small washer on it. We bring that up through the bottom of our axle assembly. We then put one big washer on it. Then we slip it through the main body. We put another big washer on it, a small washer, and then we screw both nuts down on top, and we hand tighten them. They don't need to be super tight. They should be tight enough to hold the car together. And now we have our front steering assembly attached to our main body. And that's the end of step 2.